Anthony Brock, and I'm coming at you again with a lady who's a regular on the show. She's come on many occasions, and it gonna be many more because I like this lady.
Thank
She's
you.
my sister down in the Gullah Geechee, the South Carolina, the Savannah, the all them territories down there, because she holding it down. And oh, did I say my name? I'm Anthony Brock, and I'm the host of Strong Inspirations, where in my own way I give it to you straight, no chaser, through the people who come on the show. Again, as I had just said a minute ago, like this sister. She is nationally known for her efforts to keep that culture, the Gullah Geechee culture, alive, and so much more that she does. She's an accomplished actress, singer, writer,
Boy, go on. Go some more.
storyteller.
Go some more.
Oh, there's more to give you, and everybody. And I'm gonna let her tell a little bit about it because I know I'm leaving some out because it's incredible, and she helps in so many ways down in that area. And she even came to Detroit, everybody. And I was so excited to see her in my town. She brought that she sat at the big chair at the convention, and everybody came around wondering who this lady was. Because I did too until I knew who it was. I'm like, who's sitting in the big chair? And so hit the subscribe button on Strong Inspiration. It's free. This is what I've been coined free Black history because I don't charge nothing. This is my contribution to society worldwide. And the people who come on now and before and will come on are all a part of the family, along with you, my viewers. So hit that subscribe button, hit the notifications bell so you get a ding, a shot, a smoke signal, something to let you know there's new content. Hit hit the like button on this one. You liked the others of this lady, and you're gonna like this one again. She's even more proficient. You're gonna really, oh man, wait, you see what I'm saying in a moment. And then tell somebody about Strong Inspirations. Don't keep it to yourself. When I said about other videos that she's had, it's Gullah Geechee, but it's about the festival in December. I've been twice. I will continue to go back because I truly enjoy it. It's about what that culture is, and she gives a good overview. So watch those videos. And there are other people on here from the Gullah Geechee community. There's the lady who is considered what a mother. No, Queen Quet. Yeah, Queen Quet has been on this show. There's people who are Gullah Geechee or not Gullah Geechee, but live in the area. And they talk about like Helen Latson. That's right. She's on the show. She's a pillar of the community, keeping the story alive by interviewing the older people, as she has told me, and letting that story resonate within the community. And there's so many more. I found a lady, a white chick, who says she Creole. She said she didn't know that, but then when she did a little research, she said, well, that's what it comes back, and embraced that heritage. I got a guy on the show who's Mexican, and he talks about, the one of the most famous and resound presidents in Mexico is a black guy. Didn't know that until he told that story. One more on some culture. I got a couple people who are from various Latin American parts of the world, and they talk about Brazil, and they talk about Puerto Rico, and so many others of those Latin American nations. They own this show, everybody. I'm not playing with you. And the thing that we're going to do tonight, today, at this time, as you watch this, is she's a part of this festival in her area. And so before we get there, I got to tell you, I love the word strong. And in my world, strong stands for strength, tenacity, resilience, and a sense of oneness, nobility, and grace. And that is my introduction to the strong sister that's on the channel today. Come on, tell us your name. I'm happy you're here again.
Well, Anita Singleton Prather, better known as Aunt Pearlie Sue, Gullah historian, Gullah storyteller, writer, producer, ambassador, paramount chief of the Mende tribe and Sierra Leone, West Africa. Woman of God, minister, and former educator in the classroom. Now I educate on stage. And so mother of 3, grandmother of 9, and community activists, and just excited about what God is doing in this season. Even in the midst of all the confusion that's going on, God still reigns. So,
no question, and always will. And I told you, everybody, I was going to leave out a couple of them notes of what she does, and I do apologize, but it's so many of them, understandably. And so, as we do, I'm gonna just talk a little bit about you for the audience, get to know you, and we go into the story, understandably. And so, you were born and raised where again?
Beaufort, South Carolina. Not Beaufort, North Carolina. It's spelled the same, but Beaufort, South Carolina.
And where's Beaufort, South Carolina near? Is it?
It's right between. It's about halfway between Savannah, Georgia, which is south of us, and Charleston, South Carolina, which is 60 miles north of us. Savannah's about 45 miles south of us, and Charleston is 60 miles north of us.
Is it along the coastway?
We're right on the coast. We're right on the coastline, right on the Atlantic Ocean. You can't go anywhere here more than about a mile without hitting a body of water in Beaufort County. So if you don't like water, Beaufort is not the place for you.
Is that right? And when you say that, does that mean that you have beautiful beaches and that kind of thing there?
Beautiful beaches. Hunting Island Beach is one of I guess one of the most popular visited beaches in South Carolina. Hilton, people familiar with Hilton Head Island, all of those are beaches. In fact, all of Beaufort County is made up of barrier and sea islands. In fact, Beaufort was known as the queen of the sea islands. And so we have all kinds of beaches up and down the coastline here.
What's a sea island? What does that mean? What you see, because it's the Atlantic Ocean. Why do they say sea island?
Well, surrounded by water. That's number one. Number one. And the barrier islands protect the coastline. And Beaufort is fortunate because we're sort of tucked. If you've heard of Hilton Head Island, that's the southern part of the county. That's the southern part of Beaufort County. Defusky Island, you have to go by boat to get over there. And it's a series of islands that's connected by bridges or by water.
Right.
And so, and Beaufort is sort of tucked in. The coastline comes in, and Beaufort kind of gets tucked in and then comes back out. So you'll hit Charleston and Savannah, and Beaufort's sort of tucked in. And that's been very protective for us for a lot of the storms that come this way. A lot of times we're in the eye of the storm, but somehow it bounces over us. And so we've been blessed in that.
Okay. How big is Beaufort? How many miles would you say? How many people?
I guess the city limits of Beaufort may have maybe about, oh gosh, I don't even want to try to guess. Maybe about 100,000 in the county or more, a little bit.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's Beaufort. I tell you what has happened with Beaufort, and it's hard to try to figure out what the population is now because we have a lot of snowbirds that own property here in Beaufort County, and so they only live here part of the year. And then we're also a military town, so we have 3 military installations. If you're familiar with the Marine Corps, Paris Island Recruit Depot is here. And excuse me, the only other recruit depot that we have is Camp Pendleton over in California. So we have one over here, and then, like I said, the one on the West Coast, which is in California. We also have the Naval Hospital, which is here. And then we have the Marine Corps Air Station. In fact, we just had the Blue Angels were just here this past weekend. They come every 2 years to put on an air show. So we're a military town as well.
Oh, okay.
So,
Is it predominantly Black?
Right now, I think we're maybe split almost. Well, let me back up. It used to be predominantly Black. Because, in fact, during the enslavement period, the Blacks here was like 9-1. The Great Migration, a lot of folks left. A lot of Blacks left, even during the Revolutionary War. Some went up, escaped to Canada, went and joined the British to get their freedom. But now, where it used to be maybe almost 50-50, we have a big Hispanic population that now resides here. Oh. So that's changed the demographics somewhat.
Is there a neighborhood that most of the Black people lived in back in the day that had a name to it or something like that?
Well, even now in the city limits of Beaufort, used to be an area called the Northwest Quadrant, which was the Freedmen's Village during the Reconstruction period. Beaufort was one of the first places that enslaved Africans were freed. The war started April 12th, 1861. And just 7 months later, on November 7th, 1861, Beaufort County was the first place to be free. Oh, so really? all the Black folks call it at that time the great the day when big gun done shoot, talking about the cannons, the big cannons that were on the 77, on the sides of the 77 Union ships that came here. The white folks called that same day of November 7th, 1861, the day of the great skedaddle, because all the white folks skedaddled up out of here, except for one.
Okay, I love it.
And he was drunk as a skunk, and they said they left him right there at the waterfront because people were walking, stepping over him, getting on the steamboats to skedaddle up out of here.
Okay.
And so the historians call that the day of the Battle of Port Royal, because all of Beaufort County was part of one big island called Port Royal Island. Okay. And so it was called the Battle of Port Royal, but it was our day of Jubilee. And you're only talking, this was the heart, South Carolina was the heart of the Confederacy, because the Civil War actually started here. It started in Beaufort on paper. And what do I mean by that? The Articles of Succession that were first drafted was actually drafted in a house in downtown Beaufort. And then those articles were taken up to Institution Hall in Charleston, that's 60 miles north of us, to Institution Hall. And all the plantation owners from throughout South Carolina went to Institution Hall, and they signed those articles of succession that was first drafted here in Beaufort. And South Carolina became the first state to succeed out of the Union.
Is there somebody known to have written those articles of succession?
Oh yeah, the Red House, Barnwell House downtown, Rhett Barnwell, he and his brother were known as he was known as the father of the secessionist movement.
Oh, really?
And so you had people like him. You had John Frampton. All of them. They were a plantation owner. Back in that, they were up at Institution Hall and they signed those papers. Yeah. And it's ironic where the war started on paper first, and the first state to succeed out of the Union. Beaufort would be the first place that we were emancipated in the midst of all of that. And if people who saw the movie Black Panther, and and you saw and you kept hearing about Wakanda, Wakanda, Wakanda. And in the movie, Wakanda was a fictitious place, but Beaufort actually was the real Wakanda during that period of the Civil War, because we were, like I said, we were the first set of Blacks to be freed in one of these slave states.
Right.
And then Beaufort, we one day on November 6th, we enslaved. November 7th, we free.
Let me ask you this: different parts of, excuse me for a second, different parts of the country celebrate Emancipation Day differently.
Mm-hmm,
do y'all celebrate it November 7th?
Yeah, they call it. Some people celebrate it as Freedom Day. Some people celebrate it as Emancipation Proclamation Day.
I got you.
We always include in some of our productions the story of Emancipation Proclamation that day.
Okay.
So that we can remember that. And so when I said we became Wakanda, because here now, 2 days later, those 77 ships made their way, because they came through Port Royal Sound. And Port Royal Sound is the second deepest natural harbor in the United States. It's only second to New York City. And that was the only way for the Union to get their forces from the north to the heart of the Confederacy, which was Charleston, South Carolina. And so the Confederacy knew that that body of water was very, very important. It was like the I-95 getting from north to south.
Right.
And by water. And so they set up 2 Confederate forts, one on the Hilton Head side. Like I said, all of Beaufort County is a series of barrier and sea islands connected by water. So on the Hilton Head side, they set up a fort called Fort Walker. On the Bluffton Bay Point side, they set up a fort called Fort Beauregard. And so when those 77 Union ships arrived that morning of November 7, 1861, and they started bombarding those 2 forts, they started going around in an elliptical pattern. And so they would boom, reload, boom, reload. And so after 4.5 hours, them brothers down in those bunkers said, Lord, they about to kill us up in here. Right. Bubba, what is us gonna do? Bubba said, Cletus, I don't know what you's gonna do, but I'm gonna skedaddle up out of here. And all of the Confederate forces that was here to protect Beaufort, they evacuated. So the plantation owners, they were sitting on the island across from the water, sipping, like they were watching fireworks, and they just knew that the Confederacy was gonna have a easy and quick victory. And when they found out that all them brothers had evacuated, then the plantation owners did the same thing. And so when they evacuated, they left their food on the table, they left jewelry, they left their fine clothing, cotton was in the field, rice was in the field, they left all of that, and they left us. So we became free that day. And so only a few days short of that, like I said, 2 days later, those ships actually ended up in downtown Beaufort. And they said by the time they got to downtown Beaufort, said all along the coastline, the word had gotten out. And you saw Black folks, just all lining the coastline. So they were dressed, some of them were dressed up in the master's fine tails and stuff. And the women was in the fine dresses, and they were with Yankee boys, come on, boo. Come on, boo. So so we were the first set to be freed. And with that happening, we ended up with a lot of first things, like one of our schools. You've been over the Penn Center for the Heritage Days. Yep. That was founded in 1862. So that would be like Zuri in the Black Panther. Zuri represented education and advanced education. So that was happening here. The plantations that these Africans were once enslaved on, now all of a sudden they're getting paid because the cotton was in the field. And I said, right, so why waste all that? So the Union troops, the United States government started paying them to harvest that crop. And a lot of them took the monies that they made from harvesting the crop that just a few days earlier they weren't getting paid anything for.
Right.
And they turned around and they bought pieces of those plantations when those plantations came up for tax sale.
I got you. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm. And so Beaufort became, we were landowners here. We weren't sharecroppers here. We were landowners.
I love it. So it's a success story.
It's very much a success story.
Yeah.
We had Penn School got started.
Yeah.
We had our first Black hero, Robert Smalls. He would be like your T'Challa, like your Black Panther.
Yeah.
And he here formerly enslaved African that could have been lynched for learning how to read and write, actually wrote the first compulsory education act that gives us the basis to public education in the United States today.
Yeah. Yeah, along with, let me chime in with this, and you know what I'm about to say. He stole that ship. He stole that boat and sailed the frigate.
That's right, the Planter.
Yeah, he did. So the short of his story is he was working on a Confederate ship, and the crew, the white crew, would go off in the woods and play. And he one day said, "Well, when they leave, we leave. We leave them with the boat."
That's right.
It's an incredible story.
It is.
Now, to go into, in particular, another aspect of Beaufort and that whole coast is the Gullah Geechee culture.
That's right.
What so you're Gullah
Geechee? Born and raised right here.
How did you know that at the beginning?
Well, I mean, my parents never tried to they didn't teach us to be ashamed of it. And that was not always true in all Black households.
That's what I heard.
A lot of households were, don't talk that bad talk, don't talk that Geechee talk, all that kind of stuff. But my parents, even though my mother, both of my parents were college graduates. My mother was the first in her house and her family to go to college and get a degree. But my dad, he was the second, because my paternal grandfather was born 1875. You're only talking about 10 years out of slavery. And he was born in Colleton County, which is the county just above us, on Cherokee Plantation. And he and my grandmother, they were cousins, because the Blakes and the Coes did not buy outside Africans. Everybody was basically related. That's my dog, and I'm sorry about that. So my grandfather was 27 years older than my grandmother. She was his second wife, because his first wife had died, and she was the cousin to Robert Smalls, our first Black hero in the Civil War. And so when you go over there, just like say on the islands, you find pockets where the Gullah accent is stronger than other places. And so we weren't allowed to ridicule anybody because of that.
Well, let me ask you this. When we talk about Gullah, explain Gullah to people, because it's and I'm gonna let you explain it, but I'm gonna try to give a little lead in. It's people from a specific part of Africa. Is that correct? And that's Gullah. And what is Gullah?
Well, first of all, we often say it's the west coast of Africa.
Right.
But we have to remember some of the Africans were brought from the interior, but they were brought to the coastline, to the west coast, to get on the boat. So the boats were lined up, for lack of a better term, was sort of lined up on the west coast. And so, but most of us came from rice-producing countries, Sierra Leone being one of the biggest exporters of Africans that ended up in America. Now you have Angola, you have the Congo, you have Senegal, you have Gambia, Togo, Benin, all of those different West Coast countries. But the rice-producing countries were the ones that South Carolina plantation owners wanted, because we had the expertise in rice cultivation.
That's right.
And they paid a higher price for the Africans that came from those rice producing countries.
Oh, really?
And so when people ask me, what is my definition of Gullah? Because a lot of folks don't seem to think that white folks or anybody else. But to me, Gullah is the blending of all of those cultures that came together during that horrible time in our history called the transatlantic slave trade. It is the blending of the West Africans and all the other African countries that ended up on the West Coast to get on those ships, to be kidnapped and brought over here. And we have to remember that a lot of Africans, we were here even before slavery came.
That's right.
We were sailing the seven seas long before Columbus got lost. That's right. Another story for another day.
That's right.
But for this part of the story, here now you have the blending of the Africans and their different languages, their different traditions, blending with that of the Europeans that came from various European countries, be it England, Ireland, Scotland, Spain, Portugal being the first one to actually kidnap Africans to bring them and enslave them on other continents.
That's right.
So blending with that, but we often forget the Native Americans that were already here.
That's right.
And so it's a blending of all of those cultures that came together during that time in history. And just to make sure people understand, we did not come here void of culture. There's no way you can go on earth. I don't care how we try to whitewash it one way or the other. There's no way no place you can go on earth that the evidence of the Black man's footprint.
That's right.
The footprint is there.
Let me ask you, does Gullah Geechee mean something? Is Gullah a word that means something? And was it used before it got to America, or just once it got to America, it coined the phrase?
Well, I really don't know whether they called it Gullah Geechee before or after. Now, one theory is that the word Gullah may have came from Angola, because Angola has a tribe that's called the Gola people, Gola. Gullah is spelled Gullah. And thinking that some people say that means a blessed people. Well, I think we're blessed in spite of all that we've gone through. That we're still here. And not only are we still here surviving, but we're here thriving.
That's right.
Enemy took his best shot at us, and here we are still standing strong.
That's right.
Then the Geechee, they think maybe that came from the word, in Sierra Leone, there's a Geechee tribe. And thinking that maybe, and when I was growing up, you were called Geechee. And then the word Gullah came, again, I started hearing Gullah once I was grown. But growing up, we were called Geechees. Saltwater Geechees, freshwater Geechees. And so, but the Geechee tribe, thinking that maybe the term Geechee came from there. Another theory was there's an Ogeechee River in Savannah, Georgia. And maybe those Africans that worked along that river on those plantations, that term may have came up. Yeah. So those are some of the theories. Gotcha. And right now, we're calling ourselves Gullah Geechee.
I got you. Yeah, I love it. So now, are there a particular style of clothing or what you eat or anything like that that's particularly representative of the Gullah Geechee culture?
I wouldn't say there's just like any culture has evolved. If you go to France now, you don't look for French women to look like Queen Antoinette with the big boofy hair and the
That's
hair temples and the long butt. So I want people to know Gullah is still evolving. It didn't stop evolving at the end of the Civil War. It didn't stop at the end of Reconstruction or Jim Crow or civil rights. We are still evolving. I am Gullah Geechee. My grandchildren are Gullah Geechee. My great-grandchildren will be Gullah Geechee. And so wherever we go, and we take that bloodline, that legacy with us. We can try to get up to New York or Philadelphia, whatever, and everybody you go for a week and you come back trying to talk all proper, Anita, China, and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah, I got you.
We're still who we are inside. And
now,
so, yeah.
Now, with that said, there are there various, and maybe I just answered. Are there various traditions to Gullah Geechee though?
There is. Well, our food traditions. Like for us, rice is one of the reasons why they came and got us because of the wealth that rice produced, and so our diet is rice based, and you name it, we cook it all kind of ways because a lot of the recipes that we now celebrate as part of our tradition were survival pots, I would say, because you cooked whatever you had. So like the stuff that the masters didn't want, like the livers and the chitlins and the pig feet and pigtail, all that's neck bones that people didn't want. Now that's a delicacy.
Yeah, that's right.
The chicken feet that you threw away, that costs more per pound than the chicken breast meat. So everything, our cuisine has been developed and created because we look in your pantry or you look in your cabinets, whatever you had, you made it work. For us on the coastline, seafood was a big part of our diets.
Oh, sure.
Everybody's crazy about grits and shrimp and grits.
Right.
That was I mean, at least once a week for us. In my grandmother's house, we didn't buy fresh seafood. We went out and we caught it.
Yes.
So shrimp and crabs and oysters and fish, and everybody knew how to catch a crab.
I see.
And
so let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this then. So you all have various celebrations,
Mm-hmm.
Gullah Geechee oriented. The one that's coming up in May. Tell us about that. Is that a Gullah Geechee celebration?
It is most definitely. Even before there was a Juneteenth, there was a Decoration Day. We know it today as Memorial Day, but it was started by newly freed Africans. The war ended almost exactly 4 years. It started April 12th, 1861. It ended April 9th, 1865. So if it had lasted 3 more days, it would have been exactly 4 years. After the war ended, the U.S. colored troops, we saw the movie Glory,
right,
and with Denzel Washington, that was based on actual historical accounts. And a lot of those things happened right here in Beaufort. But before you had the 54th and the 55th, the Massachusetts 54 and 55th, you had the first became the 33rd, and the first infantry, volunteer infantries, were mustered right here in Beaufort County. And so when almost at the end of the war in Charleston was still Confederate controlled. And like Beaufort was Union controlled, because right when those, on November 7th, 1861, when those ships ended up in Beaufort, Beaufort became the headquarters for the Union forces down south, deep south. And so it wasn't burned or destroyed like, Charleston was set on fire, Atlanta, different places. But Beaufort was the headquarters.
Okay.
So when the 2nd Infantry, U.S. colored troops, went through Charleston at the end of the war, they realized that their comrades had been buried, and that's the U.S. colored troop comrades, had been buried in a mass grave and had not been given proper burial rites. Almost at the end of the war, there was a racetrack called the Washington Jockey Club. in Charleston. It's where the aristocrats, the Southern aristocrats, would boast their wealth. But at the end, a couple of months before the end of the war, it became a Confederate prison camp. So they treated the white Union soldiers terribly. I mean, it was horrible, horrible conditions. Well, you multiply that times 10, and that was the treatment of the Black U.S. colored troops. Because in the mindset, in the crazy thinking of, of the Confederacy, they saw Black folks who fought for their freedom, fought to be considered human, was treasonous, that they were traitors. How can you turn on your family? Oh, so I'm a family member when I'm fighting for my freedom.
Right.
That turned a traitor. But I wasn't as valuable to you as your thoroughbred was to you.
Right, that's right.
When I was working for you.
Right.
So that was the irony of it.
Right.
And so they treated them with such horrible, horrible, horrible condition. And again, ended up burying something like 256, 257, like I always sort of, but about 200 plus, 250 plus.
Right.
In a mass grave. So when the U.S. colored troops came through with the war ending on the 9th, and they came riding through Charleston, by this time, Charleston has the Charleston whites, Southern whites who were loyal to the Confederacy, they had evacuated. So the only people that were left were the now newly freed Africans,
right,
and some of the abolitionists. And so they came through and they realized that their comrades had been buried in a mass grave. They dug up all 250 plus bodies, reinterred them in individual graves, decorated the graves with shells and flowers and flags. And there the term Decoration Day came to be.
Oh, I got it. Now, yeah.
And so it took them 2 weeks to do that. And so after the 2 weeks, they planned a big commemoration. And they said the first parade on that May 1st of 1865, over 10,000 participants in the first parade. When they finished putting those graves in place, and they had a split rail fencing around it, they had whitewashed, and they put a sign over the entrance that says, "Here lies the martyrs of the rebellion." And they marched around that cemetery, that makeshift cemetery, and they had speeches and they had picnics and horse races, and it became an annual thing. But the first recorded Memorial Day celebration as we know it today was started by newly freed Africans. So you had the U.S. colored troops, you had some of the white troops that was there, the Women's Relief Corps, they were your nurses like Susie King Taylor, and your Clara Bartons that became were union nurses and stuff. And they said, like I said, the children was about 4,000 children was part of that procession. That celebration moved to Beaufort. Ask me why.
Well, yeah, why? Because
Beaufort had the first national cemetery in the Deep South, in South Carolina. And it was established by President Abe Lincoln himself, wrote the executive order to establish it as the final resting place for those who fought to preserve the Union. So when it was moved here, then when those bodies were dug up again and reinterred in the National Cemetery with full military rights and celebration. So that celebration moved to Beaufort.
I see.
It became one of the biggest celebrations in the nation, not just Black celebration, but one of the biggest celebrations in the nation was Decoration Day in Beaufort. Black folks, we didn't celebrate 4th of July like that. Not when I was growing up as a child.
I got you.
Because we weren't free on Independence Day.
Yeah.
But Decoration Day, it's part of our African tradition in honoring the deceased. And so if you had moved to New York, Philadelphia, Detroit, wherever, if you were from Beaufort, South Carolina, you had to come home for Decoration Day. So people came.
So that's pretty much your largest celebration, though. Would you say?
Oh yeah, most definitely, definitely. And by daybreak, you literally could not drive the streets of Beaufort because that's how many Black folks would be on the streets. And people came. They came by steamboat. They came by a train. There was a train that came from Augusta, Georgia. It was called the up train, the down train. People would come dressed up in evening gowns. They get at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, evening gowns. And even if you didn't get a chance to come, they said colored folks, Black folks would line the railroad tracks just to see people coming down to Beaufort for Decoration Day. The steamboats would come from the Savannah side. That was Captain Sam. He had the waving gal. And then the Emma Jean came from Charleston, loaded down with people dressed up for Decoration Day. It was a huge, huge, huge celebration. The carnival would come into town about 2 weeks before Decoration Day. Where my house was, I could look out the window and I could see the Ferris wheel. It was huge. And so
what's the dates on it this year?
It's May 22nd. We're starting something new this year. So we're starting it on Thursday with a pre-festival event called Ilimu that's been curated for educators, journalists, history enthusiasts that want to come and learn more about the Gullah Geechee. It's an immersive day of activity starting with a tour. And then we have, excuse me, a Gullah luncheon with keynote speakers. After that, we have 4 artisans. One is an indigo artist. One is a wood craftsman, rice farmer who actually still grows rice. And we have a blacksmith. This year, we're celebrating part of what we're celebrating with the Gullah Festival this year is the Gullah experience during the Revolutionary War. We often hear about it during the Civil War, and we sort of forget that we were here even during the Revolutionary War. So this year, we're going to highlight a lot of that history.
I love it.
Yes.
Now, just a couple more questions. So it starts. So how do you get there? You fly where?
You can fly.
Where can you stay for lodging? That kind of thing.
Well, we have hotels. If you go to our website, the original GullahFestival.org, or you can go to our website, GullahKinfolk.org, and find out lodging information. We have hotels. We have bed and breakfast. We have Airbnbs. And we got staying with Mama Dale, so.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, so.
And all this, and so Beaufort, understandably, is large enough to hold all these people with lodging.
Sure.
And some people, it's not like you got to go 5-10 miles away, maybe.
Well, some people stay in Savannah and make that part of their state. Like Savannah's about 45 minutes from us.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, and they stay in Walterboro, all that, and people drive in. It's your history. So, we need to come and find out who we are.
Yes.
And that we have a lot. We often sort of focus on what we don't have.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity for people to come and learn about what we do have.
Let me ask you this, and a lot of times we don't know who's coordinating this. Who keeps this alive? I know you're a big part of it, but it's called you name it, the Beaufort Civic.
Yeah, the original Gullah Festival Committee. Thomas Roy Hicks II. He is the president. I'm vice president. His grandmother, Rosalie Pazant, was one of the co-founders of the first Original Gullah Festival. This is our
Okay.
40th year anniversary. So you
Wow.
really need to come because this is a special anniversary edition of the Original Gullah Festival. This is the 40th year.
Now, before we go, and so there you go to the website. There's a registration fee that gets you everything, right?
Yeah. Yes, you can go there. You can buy it. We have there's no gate fee. There's no fence up, no gates, anything. But we do have some special events, like on the Elimu. We have a space for 50 folks. The first 50 people come. It's a $750 price tag that we've been fortunate enough to get a grant for. So we can give 50 people that experience for them just coming. And so we're so excited about that because it's like we're about educating. We want to entertain, but we want to make sure people, because of the knowledge that's going to set us free.
What day do they do? And is there a day where they go around the cemetery and parade, or is that every day?
Oh yeah. That's
one day in particular that you got to be.
That's on Monday, the 26th. We actually have the parade that started all of this. The parade is on Monday, and the cemetery services with military taps and color guards and all of that. A keynote speaker is on Monday as well.
Oh, so Monday is the short day. Yeah.
Well, you want to come. Like I said, we have festivities starting on Friday. You know, we do the Elimu, and that's going to be a tour, a lunch time with the artisan demonstration, and then Thursday night we premiere our Decoration Day full stage musical, Memorial Day like it used to be. We take you back to Africa. We take you to the Silver Slipper Supper Club with Aunt Purdy Sue singing little blues. We take you to church. We take you to the Grand Army Hall, to the cemetery, the parade, all. So that's a full stage musical with about 40 actors and actresses and singers on stage. And then Friday morning, we have our Children's Day, with all our schools coming out and some of our students doing some of the entertainment, drum call. We have workshops. People can take it workshops from crocheting, basket weaving, quilt making, all of that. We have a kiddie village this year, again, because we're highlighting the Gullah experience during the Revolutionary War. We have a Revolutionary War village as well.
Okay.
Then Friday night, we have the all-white attire Caribbean party. So with DJ and full band and good Caribbean food.
And most of this is outside, or is it in the home?
Yeah, we have a beautiful waterfront park, the Henry C. Chamber Waterfront Park in downtown Beaufort. Can't miss it.
Yeah.
And then we start again on Saturday morning, full stage entertainment all day, no cover charge.
Now, again, what's the website so people can register and come on down? What's the website?
It's the original GullahFestival.org. The original Gullah www.originalgullahfestival.org. If you just Google Original Gullah Festival, boom, will pop up.
And on there, do you have listed some of the lodging options? I mean, the hotels in the city, but you can Google them too.
Right, yeah, hotels, and you really need to go ahead and book them now because they fill up really fast.
Oh, I bet.
We have Sunday. We go right on through Sunday. This year we're adding another band on Sunday as well.
Oh, okay. I gotta ask you this. I know. When you singing and dancing, when we gonna see you on stage?
Well, you'll see me all day because I'll be the Madeira on the golf cart. So you better move out my way. But yeah, we do our show. Like I said, we have a show on we premiere the show Decoration Day 2025, and it's always different. So even if you saw it last year, it won't be the same.
Yeah.
But anyway, we Thursday night at 7 p.m. at USCB Center for the Arts, And then we do an encore performance on Saturday at 3, a matinee at 3, at USCB Center for the Arts. So it gives you an opportunity to see what's on stage at the park. And we're only about 5 blocks from the park. So everything is in that same sort of vicinity. And one of the exciting things that we have, we're a block, 2 blocks from the Tabernacle Baptist Church, where the grave of Robert Smalls is there, along with his 2 wives and his daughter. And we have a new Harriet Tubman, because a lot of people don't know that Harriet Tubman spent 3 years in Beaufort. And the Combahee River raid, even though she freed some people, you know, some historians said 90, some say 300 and something, some say 75. But we know on June the 2nd, 1863, she freed over 700,
That's right.
756.
That's right.
And she brought them over to Beaufort, from Colleton County over to Beaufort. That's right. So we have the new Harriet Tubman Monument. And also at the Tabernacle Baptist Church, we'll have the Lest We Forget and the Black Inventors Museum. And that's, again, free. Everything we've gotten grant monies to try to do this thing. But we need people to donate, because even though we're offering it to the public free, it still costs a lot of money. And if everybody just pledged $5 a month for a year across this nation, we get people as far as Budapest come here. They come from England. They plan their trips to come to the United States around our performing season in the Gullah Festival. So we get people all over. Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, everybody, I think that kind of gives you as much of it, and what it don't give you is on the website. So go there, and you got the icon in front of you. You got the performer of the year, Gullah Geechee performer of the year, and without Gullah Geechee in front of, still the performer of the year, because that's what she does, and she's very good at, very talented. I've seen her. I'm not lying to you, folks. This is the sister right here on the show. Strongest.
And you know, I want to share something.
Go ahead.
I want to share. Give me a second. Let me get it. This is my Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yes.
From the President of the United States.
Whoa, that's huge.
That's me. Yeah, 2024.
Yeah, just happened too.
November 7th. I mean, December 7th, 2024. So
that's beautiful. I'm telling you, there it is, everybody, in black and white, on print. Something to keep forever and go down in the annals and the archives. So thank you so very much. Oh, I'm going to give you the final word, but thank you so very much for coming on. Hit the subscribe button on Strong Inspirations. Hit the like button. There is no love button. Hit the notifications bell for when a new video come up. You get a ding, a shock, a smoke signal. I forgot to tell you all, but I'm going to take a second now, liberties. I am a filmmaker, everybody, and this is Business in the Black, The Rise of Black Business in America. It's a film that I produced. It's streaming on Amazon. This is a book that I've written, Black Business Book. Accompanies the film, but many more facts on that same topic. And Robert Smalls is in this book. Got to have a guy like that in him. And the things that he did, and his unique escape. There's a chapter on unique escapes in this book, along with rich Black folks in the 1800s. Get you a copy of this. And I do public speaking, everybody, so I'm around and about the US of A. And to know where I'm at, go to the website and where you can get the book, businessintheblack.net. Go there, do it today, everybody. That's my way of making a living. I will be honest with you. And so I appreciate you doing that. And to you, I'm Pearly Sue, and I'm going to give you the last word after this. I want you to stay strong, stay safe, stay on your grind. I love how you've taken that culture that is your culture, and you have perfected it in some respects, but more so than that, you keep it alive. You spend your days telling this almost every day. You Gullah Geechee 365.
And a fourth. And
any more on leap year too.
Yeah.
You that way. And it's a beautiful thing that you've embraced it in such a manner. And so with that, I'm gonna ask you, can you say goodbye in Gullah Geechee?
Well, first of all, I want to say I'm proud of you, my brother.
Yes, thank you.
I'm proud of you. Bless Una. Una, have a good night. And let God guide you and the angel keep you. In Jesus' name, amen.
There it is. Thank you so much. I'll be in touch. And everybody, I got to tell you something. I'm going to be there. I'm coming to this.
Yes.
So come and meet me. Go to the website. I'll tell you the day and time I'm getting there and so on and so forth. And then you'll see me. And if you want to come, send me an email, inspirationsbystrong@gmail.com. We'll communicate. And I'm going to that. Yeah, shoot, man. Come on. I'll be
come
there.
On, let's have
yeah,
tell everybody bring their fan.
Yeah. I can dig
with that fan
and get your tickets now.
Yeah.
You don't want to miss it. Thank you so much, Pearly Sue.
God bless. God bless.